primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core. World. News.
You may fire when ready.
From bright center of the galaxy, I'm Grax Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your holonet news service providing in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from around the galaxy. Now for your news segment rundown for June 22nd, 2022. Old Ben's Hermit Hut. Now for your host, Ben, Grant, and Adam, to break down Part 6, the finale of Obi Wan Kenobi.
Oh, hey guys, how's it going today? Did anything exciting happen in your life today in the Star Wars galaxy far, far away? Anything worth talking about? I don't know.
Pretty average day. Pretty boring. Not much to talk about.
Was there a Jawa comic that came out or anything? Or no?
No. Well,
all I can say is that the dropship is ready, guys. I'm ready to go down.
I'm so ready. I'm so ready for episode 6 of Obi Wan Kenobi, the finale of the miniseries. I've been wanting to talk about this since I saw it, and I have dreaded every minute between then and now. Like I checked my watch like 55 times.
We should have done it like I did it, which is I watched it. I finished it about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
See, I'm the one.
I don't have that patience.
I'm the one that gets cold sweats in the middle of the night, waiting till it's 3 a.m. And then once I know it's out there, I basically wake up, stare at the ceiling for a good hour, and then go back to bed, and then wake up in the morning and watch it, first thing before getting
today. Was one of the most productive days I had in a long time because I am not allowed to watch it until I can watch it with Carly, mostly because I really want to watch it with her and experience with her. So I was just so busy, because I was afraid if I ever stopped moving, I would be like, well, I could just watch it. So it was a hard day to be like, I did so much yard work today just to be not inside near any electronics.
Good Lord.
Some glitter schematics. It's bad.
Yeah, I had to work today, and I saw all of a sudden a bunch of Discord chatter, and I was like, oh no, I haven't muted the spoilers thing. And so I went into my settings, and all I saw was Yoda energy were the two words that I read, and I was like, no, tell me there's not Yoda in this episode. And I hit the notification.
Everything but.
Yeah, everything but. Okay, should we talk about this episode now?
I'm not quite sure how.
I don't know. Yeah, you know what? We don't have to do this in chronological order.
Yeah.
But I will do it in chronological order.
No, I do love just the Vader dialogue. I just want to give a shout out to the writing for Vader across the entire series. I think every word from that character has been perfect, spot on. I don't think it's inarguable. It's it's perfect. I love all the lines. I love early on in the film where he's follow Kenobi and all that stuff. So good. Grand Inquisitor by his side. Just so cool. Just so cool to see Vader in his element in this episode.
Just the opening scene. I guess it's not the opening scene because we get the Tatooine teaser, but when we get off of that, just Vader walking down a Star Destroyer bridge. Yep. It's just amazing how much I get the tingles from seeing that moment. It just felt. I have to say, we can expand on this. I was talking with Carly about this. I'm like, and this is pretty obvious, but this series feels the most like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to just sit down and watch all 6 in a row. And part of it is this there are moments in Mandalorian that got me choked up, and we'll talk more about this. But I feel like every Star Wars movie, no matter how much I love it or where it is on my list, there are multiple cry moments in the climax of every Star Wars movie, right? And this is the first time that hit me, right? Luke showing up at the end of episode or of the season 2 of Mandalorian is an amazing moment. I didn't really get cry over it. I got tingles and I was so excited. I'm like, this is amazing. I can't believe I'm seeing this. But this episode, wrecked me.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like a logical evolution from Revenge of the Sith too, because when he's on the bridge in that film, it's very sterile. It's not very populated. It's there's maybe just a few officers. Now it feels densely populated. There's the Grand Inquisitor next to him. It feels like the Empire is in full swing, and it just feels like this organic evolution of where he would be now in the galaxy with the Empire. And I thought that was just beautiful production design. love all the extras walking around behind them. So cool.
Yeah, I do want to get like a major appreciation like thing out. Just like there's not an ounce of fat on the script.
No.
It's just like it's perfect. It has nothing it doesn't need, nothing distracts from it. Every line has purpose. They perfectly laid trails of breadcrumbs to lead you to where we got to at the end of this like episode. It's just and in that way, I think it's very original trilogy where it's just sort of like you don't need to know about what happened to the the rest of the travelers in the path and all that. Like it just like they got away, like deal with it. And there's just and I think they did that really well in the original trilogy where it was just like really tight and trimmed down and just focus on the main characters and focus on this like beautiful tight dialogue. And I also want to give a proper shout out to Natalie Holt. I've been too distracted by the dialogue and what I'm looking at and all this stuff to really listen to the music. And I got to, I got to rewatch a bunch of them today and really listen. And she's really got this polished, professional, like amalgam between Goranson and John Williams.
Yeah,
it's like it's so like compressed and tight. It's easy to miss. But like I rewatched, like I said, episode 1 today, and she uses like straight up cues, like tribal cues from Boba Fett and Mandalorian in that, and she also uses the like heavy synthesizer, like analog synthesizer, but like melded perfectly with orchestras. And I told you she had that button on her console, right? And boy, she mashed that button like 4 times. It wasn't just the Imperial March. There were at least 4 major themes that she used. John Williams in this. And it was kind of beautiful how like it started more Goranson like at the very beginning, and then it became very John Williams at the end.
Yeah. I was watching it as I always do with closed captioning, and the closed captioning will actively call out when there's a theme, which I think is really funny. Like it says Imperial March theme or Force theme, or like it's really funny when like sometimes it'll just be like one of my favorite things right now is we're watching the season of Stranger Things, and if I was younger, I'd play a drinking game because watching that it's like what adjective plus synth music. It's hilarious. It's like ominous synth music, light synth music. Like that's all it says all the time, which is pretty great.
It's very broad.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It totally is. But it's just funny where that's just general, like you don't know what that is, whatever it could be. But like on this episode, you're right. It was like 4 times they specifically in the closed captioning mentioned themes. Yeah, which I thought was really cool. And the way she used it, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, speaking of the ominous music, the sort of like choir chanting, like the fight between Obi-Wan and Vader, which we'll get to later, that was definitely a sort of homage to Duel of the Fates, right? That's sort of like choir, sort of human voices. Really, really loved that music from Natalie Holt.
No, that was the thing. It was like she was using pieces of the themes in her own themes. Like we kind of got teased with it with the siege of Kajim last week.
Right.
With the Imperial March, but like she waited, she was patient, and then she had her point, and it was like, nope, Imperial March is like that's a vector of the story, and I'm not mashing that button until it's like not just a cute little tone poem like rhyme, like no, like it's when the whole story is moving in a new direction.
Right.
Masterful, beautiful. I hope she does more stuff. It was really good. Okay, why don't we, you want to start at the beginning with Water Guy? You guys want to get some water in Tatooine, just like a glass or something?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Kendall from Succession. Serving water. Yeah, in Tatooine.
Yeah.
And then we get the comeuppance for the kind of the butcher guy from the meat market.
Yes. He's the job site manager.
That's right. He gets his cup of water, force pulled from his hand, to much alarm, and then he quickly, I think, runs away after that. And Reva appears somehow miraculously. She's gotten there. probably took a ship, and she is looking for Owen.
Nice. Yeah. I will say I've got a bunch of Jenny comments, my beloved wife. She's too chicken to come on this podcast, but would actually be an ad. And she mentioned how, Reva wearing the robes, the like Jedi robes, and the Cuisintorius like uniform, like is a metaphor for, the conflict within and her character at the time, which is, pretty right on there. She looks good in a robe though. Reva looks good in a robe.
Yeah. And this is the thing that threw me the most in the show, not in a bad way, but I was not expecting to start on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Right? As we discussed last week. I thought, and I like that they did that because part of me was like, where are we going? And then it adds that extra element of just suspense every time we're not on Tatooine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of like sun bleached, bright, sort of blooming sort of shot right to start off in the marketplace on Tatooine. And then, and then we jump right back to space, and it's like right where we left off. So it's we're not there just for a brief moment, just to set up Reva, and then they jump out. So I didn't bump up against it.
No, it didn't bother me. I thought for sure the story wouldn't start there, and I like that they did it that way. And also, I mean, we can talk about hyper space travel in this episode.
Do we have to?
It's very quick when it needs to be quick.
Yes. And getting in Atmo from space apparently only takes about 35 seconds, which is quite an evolution in technology. So during that chase scene you're talking about, so we flash to space. She mashes, Natalie Holt mashes the button and uses John Williams. And I don't know the exact cue. It might actually be a new. It's like dun 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 dun. Oh, so actually that's Empire Strikes Back.
That's
the asteroid chase scene.
Yeah, and which is cool that she went to that and skipped over a New Hope soundtrack. So it sounded great.
We don't really see the Empire as the Empire with Star Destroyers in much at all.
Right.
Like in A New Hope.
What does Vader say right off the bat? He goes, "Increase firepower."
So good.
So good.
So good. And those officers know which side their bread is buttered on. They don't listen to anyone but Vader, and they respond quickly.
Yes, that is for sure.
I know. He's like, what are they like? We're only reading one life form. I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves here. We really have to talk about what's going on in the transport.
Yes,
Smokin and Obi-Wan, because a lot happens here. It's Obi-Wan is understands that Vader is only chasing them because he's on board, and he's thinking, I gotta go lure him away, and he's got to break the news to Leia, and it's tough. And that's actually the first scene that I kind of welled up.
Yeah,
welled up in the whole, you better come back. And then I felt like in that moment, it was Ewan just transformed into Alec Guinness. It's just the body language in that moment when he kneels down to Leia and talks to her, and just that specific moment, I just saw Alec Guinness.
No, there were 3 times in this where it felt like he was, and it wasn't an impression, right? He was just embodying that version of Obi-Wan. And so Carly even called it out a couple times. She's like, "Oh, that's totally Alec Guinness." And then so we cut back real quick to Tatooine, and then that's just Owen finding out about being chased. But I want to cut back to the, and we can talk more about that. I want to cut back to the scene, because the first scene, I got a little choked up with the Leia, the Obi-Wan announcing to everyone, why he's doing this, why they matter, and why, the scene where the line where he's like, "You've been protecting the Jedi for 10 years. And now it's my," that's where I actually shed a tear in that moment, because it is it's Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is 100% back in that moment. And it just, it killed me in such a great way.
And that's the whole series, right?
You are the future.
Yes, you are the future.
You are the future.
Oh, so authentic. So it's classic. His just the great way he speaks, his eloquence stands out. There's a cool moment too that I missed the first time, and I caught the second time, where he sees Leia, and Leia is helping chill out the children with her fun droid Lola. And
that's not just any child. That's
Princess Leia Organa.
No, I think Grant's
that
talking
not
about
Oh no, which child is it?
Yeah, the boy that she's entertained.
it's Corrin.
Corrin Horn from
No.
the X-Wing books.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Yeah, because they've gone back and said that it's specifically that is Corrin. Like it's because they only have identify in the actress as Corrin's mom.
Yeah, no big deal. They're just playing in the corner.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wait.
Yeah.
When Corrin's mom? What?
Yeah.
Was that in the?
Yeah.
It was in the.
Yeah,
the
I remember
list
that was
of
the
guest actors.
Yeah, and that was the Force sensitive boy from episode 2, right? That he helped smuggle off. And what they've gone back and figured out is that he's Corrin Horn. Like he is
Corrin Horn
credit. Yeah.
Okay.
They haven't 100%, but I mean, his name's Corrin, and he's Force sensitive, and an old EU. Like that's Corrin Horn. Like, come on, let's just do it.
Okay, so that's amazing. And dumb me was just like, oh, that's when she decides to smuggle Lola into Obi Wan's robes, which was a really nice touch. I'd love to I think in the future when we're done going through all the pillars, I want to do pillar speed rounds for everything because it wouldn't take you long. Just be like, okay, show me droids, show me monsters, show me mentor relationship, show me you just go through and it's just so obvious that, and they did just such a nice job with droids here with just a little ladybug droid,
Yeah, I also think that we might need to add another pillar to our pillars after watching the series, which is redemption. I think almost every Star Wars thing has redemption as a pillar. Okay, and we'll talk a bit about that later in this episode.
I think redemption is subjective though. I don't even know if it's people can view things as redemption or people atoning or it's not always absolved. People aren't always absolved, right?
No. I mean, we've had that large debate, but it's up to the viewer to decide whether or not the redemption is enough. But it's the storytellers are telling stories of people trying to be redeemed
themselves.
Yeah, I mean, no, I still to this day do not argue that Darth Vader did anything to redeem what we see him do.
We can argue about this maybe off air or now.
He gets Force Ghost pass pretty quick.
I know.
Insta Force Ghost.
Right. Because I could probably argue right now that none of the prequels have redemption.
Yeah, that's fair. I was thinking about that when you've
got Anakin, and then you got or Darth Vader, Anakin, and then you've got Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. I feel like it's kind of a new modern thing that's just and it might be in a reaction to the times we live in.
I don't know if it's
but it doesn't matter the bad things. You can always choose to be good, no matter.
But I mean, is it new? I mean, episode 6, right?
That's Lucas to a T. He used, you can always make the choice to be selfish or selfless. Do you want to treat someone with dignity or do you want to make the selfish?
And I guess my argument back to that would be because I was doing the same thing, Ben, trying to think if there's any redemption in the prequel trilogies. And there's really not. But Lucas, I think, really saw episodes 1 through 6 as a singular story. In which case, it is it's the fall and redemption.
All a redemption story,
right? Yeah, but it's me cheating a little bit. But anyway, we can talk more about this and
I mean, but that's really a subpart of light versus dark, and the nature of the Force and choosing to be good or choosing to be evil, which is
it's pushing someone all the way dark and then having the spark of light, in the final moment, and that seems to be a trope.
Oh man. Okay. We digress. Did you guys see the Obi Wan awesome stance that happened in the next scene? Because it was
awesomeness. Yeah. I thought of you, Ben, when I saw that.
Yep. Same here.
I howled. I howled with delight.
I just pointed at the screen and just held my brandy and
with 2 fingers and your lightsaber over your head.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
yeah.
Wait, the Leo meme with the gift.
But before we get that, we get our first Beru in this series. Was she at all
through White Sun Lars?
Yeah.
Are we in the Beru crew now, guys? Are we?
I think so.
Beru?
Yeah. Otherwise, she's like, no, we're not going anywhere.
More work than everyone in this episode because I feel like she was ready. She was like, I knew this day would come. It was like it was almost like a funny sort of like line.
Yeah.
Given the scenario.
Yeah, she was great. I mean, that was, it made me go back through Wikipedia. We've covered Queen's Hope not long ago, and there's like a secret Beru White Sun chapter in there, a couple of them, showing how like she developed or helped develop the technology to remove the slave chips from slaves in Tatooine. So we know she's a strong person. And it really shone through in subtle, beautiful ways in this episode.
Yeah. I'm very glad that the actress got out of what was it? Nexium? Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Jenny told me all about that.
That doc was not fun.
But she got out before that and was one of the biggest detractors of it before. So at least she was just like got smells of it pretty early on. I was like, "Ooh, no, we're out and we're speaking out about it."
I don't. Yeah, Jenny said something. She said, "Oh yeah, she might have been involved in some light sex trafficking."
Yeah.
And I was like, she's like, but she got out and so
indirectly, I think more than anything.
Exposed it. I think she's actually a hero.
She's one of the people.
Okay, all right,
yeah.
Right. Story and
you can always choose to be good no matter what you've done.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm so glad she's back on the screen because she's crushed it.
Jenny tells me she was a victim.
Yes.
She was also pretty high up in the cult.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think Jenny would know more than I would. I know passing knowledge.
Listen, the actress is a treasure. And I'm glad she did such a good job on this.
But
Galaxy Far, Far Away.
And just to have both her and Joel Egerton, it just keeps cracking me up that like Lucas like just got these two great actors to be part of this and just like deploy them again like 10 years later.
I know. Revenge of the Sith, and now they're just crushing it. Joel Edgerton is basically like turning on his Midnight Special character,
right?
Just
Totally,
like defending Luke.
Oh, he was so good.
He is my own.
Yeah. That was active crying moment one where I actively just let it go and actually sobbed. That was amazing.
This episode just cuts. This episode stings, guys. It's a tough one.
But they also, I know we're kind of bouncing around a little bit, but like that whole thing about Owen and Beru defending Luke, like really defending Luke, and Obi-Wan coming back to have zero impact, right? He does nothing,
right?
Which is fine, other than kind of give Reva the pep talk of like, you can be, kind of actually I think did a good job of putting her on the right path. Note that the word I chose was path because we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it also does a good job if there is ever a season 2, which there's nothing in the wind really about that. They do a good job of explaining why it's okay.
Yeah.
If Obi-Wan's off planet, right? Like Luke is defended. Like
he's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
I saw the Obi-Wan Adventures opening up at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. I saw like Indiana Jones style, maybe trilogy, just amazing Obi-Wan story.
10 years of awesome.
It's just like, you let us know. You tell us, Ewan, what you want to do. You want to do another season? We'll do another season. You want to do another 3 seasons? We'll do another 3 seasons. You tell us. What do you want to do?
Yeah, because he's loaded for bear by the end of this. He's in his General Kenobi episode 3 outfit.
Yeah, he is.
Looking great.
Yeah.
With hair product back in.
Mm-hmm.
And wearing the lightsaber proud. Yeah. Oh man, this thing's so good. Owen, great with a blaster, by the way. He waits until Reva has his back turned and then he shoots her, which is like, that's a good, solid plan. I mean, he missed.
And Beru smashes Reva in the face with a power converter, or like whatever that is, Canton.
Yeah. And Owen also, I think, jabs her in her lightsaber wound. Like, I love that they're fighting dirty. They know.
I thought of Adam at that moment because I was like, wait, how does Owen know how to do this?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like blaster wounds are gnarly.
I guess probably saw a dark spot. And she is like, so one of the things they said when she was approaching the homestead, it said, wheezing or something. It said that. So I think if you're really listening to it, she is clearly injured. So I guess maybe he was able to kind of figure out that she had something going on, or it's just a lucky hit. Who knows? But
I know. I almost want to talk. So this is right now we're entering. This is a simultaneous battle thing. We have Obi-Wan fighting.
Are we back on the Devastator? We gotta get.
We jumped ahead a little bit.
Like Vader being like, "Prepare my ship."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get the Lambda class shuttle, which that was the first time I cried.
Yeah. Can I tell you? So Grant asked us before we started recording, is there anything we bumped up against? And here's a little peek behind the curtains. Sometimes we do that pre-show to kind of work out some of the things that didn't work for us. Unfortunately, I just realized I did bump up against something in this episode. Not a major thing, but I just have to share it. It's kind of like the same lines of like, why did Obi-Wan take off the perfect disguise in episode 2 of this, or the second season? So Obi-Wan's plan, which is really smart, is I'm going to jump on a ship. Vader's going to chase me. You guys go the other direction. So Obi-Wan goes in a ship. The Star Destroyer starts following the ship. 5 minutes later, Vader's like, you know what? I just only want to fight him one-on-one anyway, so I'm going to get in my ship and follow him. Yeah. So I mean, Anakin, I guess, is not a master.
Could have done that earlier.
We must continue our pursuit of the insurgents.
So I guess Anakin's not a master strategist, because I would have been like, if I was Vader, like, okay, I'm gonna hop on my ship, I'm gonna go follow thing. You go chase after everyone else, because I just want to take care of him.
The thing is, though, is like they need to keep a bead on that ship, and it's head vectoring off into like no man's land. Vader chooses to get in the ship when they see there's a clear destination in mind for Obi-Wan, when he finds that planet that I believe is unnamed.
Okay, and maybe that the ship that Obi-Wan's taking has more coaxium or more abilities to transport than a Lambda class shuttle. My point is, like, I don't know why.
Wait, what do you mean?
I just don't. But I still understand why that. Like, where was he? Where did he think he was heading? Like, he was.
I guess he just picked the nearest landmass and like
went for lifeless moon or something. Because I thought it was
great.
Perfect setting for their fight, just because the timeline of their relationship, like the molten lava fields of Mustafar is representative of their kind of like enraged Anakin's rage and obviously Obi-Wan sort of fighting him back, and then this is just a lifeless sort of planet. Like their relationship is now lifeless. There's nothing there anymore. What a beautiful idea. I think that's a 10 out of 10 decision.
I love that.
We called it a long time ago, like when we were talking about where the thing would take place. We're like, no one can be around, right? Like it had to be someplace isolated.
I was thinking it was gonna be a ship, though. I was thinking it would be on
me too.
Star Destroyer.
More recently,
I'm glad they went this direction, but
I love this direction.
Yeah,
which also makes sense for storytelling. Yeah, quieter. Plus, then you have to add another act to the act, right? Because it's like, how does he get on? How does he get off? And then. We're in an hour and a half episode, and just that's that moon when you just see them on the battlefield for the first time, and there's like the silhouette of the moon behind. It looks like a Ralph McQuarrie painting, like come to life. So, it was. I want that as a poster. Yeah,
breathtaking.
Sort of like this green kind of air, like mist. Green light.
Yeah, and what they've done with using like essentially like fighting caliber lightsabers, like lightsabers that actually have lit up sabers on them, has added so much to the production value of this stuff. I noticed, like, when I saw the first one, they made a point to look at the reflective marble they were fighting on in Coruscant, because you could see the reflection of the lightsaber in it. And then this, when you have the crossed sabers reflecting in Vader's like eyes, it's amazing.
I just love that they're using them as actual light sources now, right? Like it's just like that's why I talked a bit about how dark it was in certain scenes. I had no problem at all with this fight, because although it was done in a dark moon, like there was just that blue and red light was just showing everything.
Yeah, it's great key light, especially on Vader at the end. I mean, we'll get to the end of this fight and how they use the red saber light to great effect, to sort of horror effect. It's gorgeous. We'll talk about that later. But the fight overall, like the beginning of the fight was so epic. Like it was instant, just fast-paced prequel-esque sort of saber combat. What did you guys think of the early sort of the choreography there?
It was so good. It's like you said, it's prequel era plus original trilogy Vader dialogue.
Yeah,
which is like the perfect combination because it's not like whiny, screechy Anakin, like
Right.
and like I love that episode 3 fight, but it's just like it's hard sometimes watching him be so petulant, which is that character, and it has to be
to destroy
exactly like those
Obi-Wan.
lines of like, oh, you've regained your power, like just those things that like it's just
Right.
episode 4 Vader with episode 3 moves.
Remains. I was like, oh, it's so good. Like, and then the Emperor. There's so much great writing for just the dark side characters in this episode. But
and fits seamlessly with the Vader comics as well.
Yes.
Oh man, yeah. It was just. I think it was like you said, it was an amalgam. They even had some subtleties with Obi-Wan's form, where he's going back to that weird two-handed on the same side of the lightsaber to try and use all of his strength to like force back Vader's saber. Like he's added some new like Conan moves to his arsenal in addition to like what we've seen with his classic like version 3 Ataru or whatever it is.
I was hoping they would maybe like it would just, I don't know, take a little longer with just getting their stances and sort of, drawing their sabers. I did want to pace that out a little longer, and I did want to see them sort of like maybe hunt each other through like the spires like of the planet. Like, I wanted that scene to breathe. Like I really wanted that for like the longest time, but obviously there's so much packed into this episode, and it was so good. Like I just loved that they just went at each other immediately. I loved Vader just hacking away, and then it sort of mirrored their fight on Coruscant.
Right.
Yeah, it was barbaric and like instant, and they were all over each other. I know what you're saying, Grant. Like it would have been nice to get some of that Kurosawa homage,
or just like the mist
samurai
rolling by, and then Vader sort of turning his head, and like them sensing each other. Like I could have just sat with them for a while on that dead moon.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if it mirrored, as well as Coruscant, if it mirrored the first time they encountered each other in the show. What planet was that on with the Zach Braff alien, mole alien, whatever that planet was?
I forget the name right now.
But like, because you get a bit of like after the cave-in, right? And that, which I'll just talk about that moment in a little bit. We'll come back around to it. But after he comes out of that, he's kind of like just pops up right behind Vader. Yeah, and it would have been interesting if there was more cat and mouse, and it was more of him like using his lightsaber, igniting it, and like quick slashes, and then going away and coming back, almost doing exactly what Vader did to him on that on that last planet. Would have been kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but,
it was kind of like that, in a subtle way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what we got. I think that planet was called Mapuzo, for the record.
Sounds right.
I loved what we got on that. I did call that Anakin was going to get the high ground, guys.
Did you?
Yeah, very early.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
all right, that's
just have to
ringing
turn
a
the
bell.
table. It just has to be Anakin getting the high ground for once.
Yeah, but once again, proving that's not a thing.
Oh no, Obi Wan Kenobi excels at the low ground.
Exactly.
Is like he killed Maul from the low ground. He killed Grievous from the low ground. Like that was a total bluff when he was like, "Oh, but I have the high ground."
So
a lot of rock hurling in this.
There is. So we get the most OP Obi-Wan Kenobi we've ever seen in this episode,
Yes.
right? Like we get him pulling a ray.
The Obi-Wan Kenobi power creep is off the charts.
I don't think it's power creep though, because here's what it is. He learned the lesson of Anakin, which is love and connection is not evil. He uses his love and connection of Leia and Luke to give him power. Like that's what the true Jedi are learning, is that it's not evil. Connection is not a bad thing. Love is not a bad thing, right? Like it's not. And that's the moment I got where he's doing those flashes of Luke and Leia. It's just him realizing he has these people in his life that he loved now, these children to protect.
That's a nice take on that, Adam. I like that better than mine. Mine, I just heard Yoda or Luke talking to Yoda saying, is the dark side more powerful? And Yoda's like, no, it's not. Like,
yeah.
And I thought, you know, it was when Obi-Wan was buried under all that rock, you know, at first he's hearing the dark side, and the dark side talking to him, and all these like his fears and emotion and dread and like anguish and all that stuff. And then he pushes it out, and like he funnels in, and he's like, no, there's hope.
Yeah.
And,
this is the light side.
Children, and then the light side takes over, and he's much stronger than Vader. Which
I like that too.
Wild to see. The first time I saw, like, they really played this lightsaber fight out long, and they definitely leaned more on the prequel sort of style. But the first time I saw, like the first hit that Obi-Wan got on Vader, and Vader gets knocked back like into a rock, I was like, whoa!
Yeah, same here. Yeah. To see Vader actually get
so cool.
to take one
and go flying is wild. Like that's not a thing we've ever seen before.
Yeah,
really.
In live action.
In live action,
more rocks after that.
Yeah, and just you know, I was talking to Carly about it. I'm surprised they did the mask destruction thing, which is like straight out of Rebels, but like take it. It worked there. It works here. Like,
dude,
it's great.
Superman chops the mask off. He vaults.
And
he's in full peak form.
Yeah.
In this, he's like, he looks like he's super pumped that he's saber fighting again. He's in full,
he's improvising. Jedi. He's using like wall like grips. He's like parkouring into like saber hits.
He's like just breaking into his form. Like he's like, oh, I'm excited. Let's go.
And let's not sell that like OP like rock throwing exhibition by Obi-Wan. He just like Vader just gets pwned at his own game.
Yeah.
Just like he just like pegged with 1,000 boulders.
Well, that's the whole thing is they always exchanged, saber blows. Like, so why not just why not the rock throw from Obi-Wan? He's allowed his turn.
Yeah, if you want to throw rocks, let's throw rocks.
Yeah. Also, more similar to what we saw in episode 5 with Vader throwing things at Luke than what we saw this. So, like you said, the last time we met, you were the master and I was but a learner. And that's one thing you learned from Obi-Wan that last fight is I'm just going to throw stuff at people to distract them.
Yeah, because that was really awful for me personally.
There was a moment there, though, I was really expecting him to take off a limb. When he was really going at him, I thought for sure we were going to see Vader lose.
But
because he was like Obi-Wan was messing him up. I mean, Obi-Wan owned those lightsabers fights for the most part. He did get like thrown into the pit, but like that was like a different sort of side angle that Anakin had. But when they were lightsaber dueling,
Anakin
like Vader wasn't with him.
Like creating the fissure and like punching the ground. Like, come on, Vader. that's not clean. Like
Yeah, I mean, but it's very, very Vader-esque, but it like, ultimately didn't work because, peak Obi-Wan, we better act somebody, is all I gotta say. He was,
but then when you see Hayden,
man, and the voice and the sound on that, like that was another thing that Carly was really blown away by, of just the mixing of Hayden and James Earl Jones, and just like it just sounded amazing. And you still had all that emotion too, because it's weird when you do some of that wacky stuff, sometimes it's hard to keep the emotion in the voice, right, when you're just filtering and doing all these things. But it just, every line felt delivered so well. And so
I am not your failure, and then Obi-Wan goes to James Jones. Obi-Wan, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. The same way I'll destroy you. It's like, then my friend is truly dead. Goodbye, Darth. Which is like just seems.
I
like
love that little.
Him.
Yeah, and I love that's another thing that's just like, everyone for a long time was talking about, well, why does he call him Darth? Because that's a title, that's not a name in Episode 4. And I always read that as it was him just referring to him as this is all you are, as a Darth.
And also, like, he doesn't want to say Vader because Vader means father. And let's face it, Obi-Wan was sonning Anakin Skywalker through that whole battle.
And it's also it's not
have fun, son.
Yeah, and it's not accepting that name, right? It's not saying that you're not Vader, but you are a Darth, right? You are just you're just one cog in this machine now, this other machine of evil. Like it's just like calling someone like I don't know, by a title, right? Like it can actually be really demeaning, right?
It was hard to hear Hayden say, Anakin is gone. Like, what remains. Like, I was like,
gut wrenching.
So
beautiful.
Hard to hear. I was like, it changed the entire context of Revenge of the Sith. Like, now when you just think about where they ended up, this show will now sort of define that relationship. It's wow, it's tough.
It actually made me feel better about everything I've seen in Star Wars, and I know that's like hyperbole, but it's kind of not like at least as far as episode 1 through 6, like it really gave great perspective on all of those.
Like, I don't know how you thread this needle. I don't know how they thread this needle.
Right.
Like it like I always think when I watch episode 3, I remember being so disappointed in the theater when I realized the last scene was him becoming Darth Vader, and I'm like, that's all we're gonna get of Vader.
Yeah.
Is like 30 seconds. Yeah. And I'm like, and I get it, but it's just like to have this now, like this now exists. And it's like the perfect 3.5. Like we get this. Like it's something I didn't know I ever needed or wanted, and they gave it to me. And just like, and we can have a discussion now, and I'd like to get your thoughts of just like Obi-Wan could have killed Vader. And I know there's plot armor. I know he couldn't because episode 4.
Before we get there, let's give credit where credit's due. Yes, they wrote this nuanced, beautiful script and thread this needle through all these major points that maybe some people guessed that certain things happen.
Yes,
but did I see a head scar happen on that hit? Was there a head scar that was created?
Did we see the head scar? Did it happen?
We saw it.
Yeah, I'm with Ben. I'm pretty sure that
that was the head scar. That was the head scar. Was that blow to the remove the helmet?
Mm-hmm.
You could see it bubbling underneath the helmet. I'm going to take a victory lap because I can.
You absolutely should.
Okay, now.
No. I mean, I think we called pretty much everything in this episode except for Owen and Beru,
right?
Like standoff, which
Rambo
I love. I'm so glad they added that because that to me, I'm mad at myself that when we were trying to figure out how they're gonna put all these things together, didn't think about they're capable like survivalists. They totally could hold their own.
Yeah. We
totally did. And I love that they did that. But so I was really watching this going okay, so they obviously one can't kill the other. So again, it's so funny when you watch like a prequel thing where you're like, there's no stress about who's going to survive, but I still, they choreographed it so well that I was still really tense because you're just like, how is this going to play out? And then watching Obi-Wan just leave him alive,
screaming Luke, out in the desert, but
yeah.
But watching Obi-Wan just
we
leave,
tried.
Yeah, I know we tried. We were out here shouting for half an hour. What else do you want from us?
That's what parents do. You got to resort to just shouting your kid's name.
But at the end of the day, watching Obi-Wan leave Vader alive, I was okay with that. It weirdly felt poetic because his job was to kill Anakin. And Anakin's
dead.
Yeah.
Job done.
No, and it's true. It's just what do you want me to but I think there's still but I think there's still a part, as much as next time we see Obi-Wan, he talks about Vader killed your father. Once again, they're really trying to make Obi-Wan not into a liar as much as they can with all these things, right? Because there's so much lying in episode 4, and well, no, because remember now in this TV series, Vader did say I killed Anakin, but I still feel like there's still a part of Ben, and we see this with his discussion, and Obi-Wan, we see his discussion with Reva, is that I still think there's this weird part of him that still thinks that maybe there's hope. Right? I still can't kill him. He's still, I know you say you killed him, but I'm looking in his eyes right now. He's still there, and I can't kill my brother.
I think he's just overwhelmed with emotion. I mean, it's just clear character motivation is I cannot kill him. I have already caused so much pain and anger in this human, and they're just to kill them. Would just, I don't know, it would just be,
I think it would taint him, darkness. Right? I feel exactly, I feel he just feels like he has just come back to the light. I can't do this dark act. At the same time, he's making an active decision to leave Vader in the world. right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in Path of
the
the
utilitarian,
Jedi,
the moral philosophy there isn't.
exactly. Yeah. In Path of the Jedi, like Jedi don't kill. It's like,
yeah,
you'll take a limb, if you need to defeat someone, but it's like very rare occasions that you actually kill someone. I mean, this was another Jenny note, was just like, how many lives could he have saved if he had just like, cut him down there? And I'll play devil's advocate right now and just say, like, put the guy out of his misery.
Yeah, I know, right? It's part of it is like, is it more? But maybe that's the other thing too. If you want to look at that side of it, maybe his argument was, if you want to go a little bit dark side with Obi-Wan, he's just like, it's worse leaving him alive. Like he's suffering more, right? Like you
Samurai,
could
like
guess it that way.
It's
But I don't think that's what's going on. But but I think he also says something a little later, and I can't remember who he was talking to, but he's like, the future will take care of itself. Right? Like, I think he's back on the Jedi path of just like, this is all the journey, and we have these two chosen ones. They didn't talk about that in this. They didn't put it on Front Street, but I think that's kind of where, when he had those flashes of Luke and Leia when he's buried underneath there, knowing that like, this is all that matters are these kids, and it will take care of itself. Moment,
my read on that scene was, I think the last thing you hear is Vader saying, "I am what you made me," and to me that just means the will of the Force is on Obi-Wan's side, and he has to resolve this. It has to be a catharsis with Vader here on this moon, or wherever the hell they are.
Yeah.
Just knowing that there's nothing he can do anymore. Like he's done.
And at the beginning of the episode, he's like, Master, like, I have to confront him, like whether he dies or I do. Like, like, it will happen today or something. And I was like, oh, okay.
And there's that line with, is he talking to Roken, who's just like, you want this? Like, it's not. This is not a completely selfless act.
Real talk with Roken. Roken was like, "You're not doing this for us. You're doing this for you."
There's part of you that's doing it for you too. And I just think it's great. It's just that episode 4 fight is so amazing now after this, because he doesn't go. He knows, and I mean, this is already in that movie when you watch it. He knows he's not going to win against Vader. He knows that's not his role anymore. His story is done at that point. Like, that's it. Like, he's done everything he needs to do, and he's ready to become one with the Force. And he steps out.
He elevates his more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
It sort of elevates like Alec Guinness's smirk to sort of seeing Luke and Leia in A New Hope. That's sort of like, I know those rascals. I love them.
Look at what they've become. It's just true. Like, this is. There's no way they can't. There's no way they can be stopped. There's no way they can't. Save the universe or save the galaxy at this point. Yeah. Like I've been playing the long game, and I think at that point he's so comfortable knowing like. Yeah. I'm gonna go. They're gonna take care of the rest. Like, I've done everything I need to do.
You two have talked me into like 3 more seasons of this show, because like now that like they spent all the effort getting here, you can really play in this space now. Like you said, like lone samurai. I mean, is there any better lone samurai than like Obi Wan Kenobi? Just like doing his thing, and then you get like Liam Neeson just like bopping in from time to time. You get a lot of lore talk from him. Them expounding, them thinking, contemplating the galaxy.
He could go look for relics, like help other small sovereign governments. And
sure.
Whatever.
Mandalore. I don't know. Maybe Satine. Maybe his like granddaughter out of wedlock needs help in Mandalore or something.
He has a brother, a long lost brother out there.
He has a brother.
He does.
The stars.
That was
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Quinlan Voss might need a buddy.
Yeah,
that would be a fun buddy comedy.
If they didn't do this as shamelessly as Mandalorian season 2 did, which my whole thing about Mandalorian season 2 is every episode is a backdoor pilot for another TV show.
Right.
Which, granted, please give me all of those TV shows. I'll be happy to watch them. But there are so many threads left in this thing that never need to be explored, but totally can be, right? Which is the perfect Star Wars thing, right? Like, and I just think if we don't get a path show that is like Roken and Sully and I can't think of Kumail's character's name.
Haja,
yeah. Plus, I do think we also get. I think we do get Reva in that show as well.
Oh wait, where's the Reva spinoff?
But I think those are all connected. I think she becomes part of the path because that would be a perfect development for her to be shepherding young Jedi lost in the world, protecting them, right? As she was not protected. If we don't get that series, it's because they're giving us a season 2 of Obi-Wan. That's my argument.
They could call the series the Jedi Path. And sort of like just lump all that in there, and it'd be really great.
You also get Old Pelpy. Old Pelpy appears in this episode.
Sure
does.
Sure does.
Yep.
We danced around this, and I think you guys were like, "He's definitely in this." And I was like, I didn't want to put any money on that horse, but I saw him, and I was like, "Oh yes, you did."
Yeah. I'm like, you have to have both of them talking to their masters at some point and at the very end. But this series, man, but it kept teasing, and I was sitting there watching it, and it's the only time that I was ever pulled out. It was like, oh man, I'm gonna have such egg on my face if this doesn't happen. and I'm like, oh, thank God it happened.
Yeah, no, man, you nailed that.
Perhaps your feelings for your older master have left you weakened.
Yep. It also just is such a great line of like explaining why, like, the next time he sees him is another 10 years later because he can't have that weird attachment, which is weird, right? Think of it this way. So I'm getting on this whole attachment drive here for a second. So I do think that Obi-Wan learns that attachment is important. And now Anakin is being forced to lose all attachment from his master. So his whole thing was like, I'm attached is good, love is good. And his new he just sold his soul to the devil, and the devil's like, no, you can't have any attachments to anything ever again.
Right. It's all me, which is seamlessly aligned with the comics. Like the over and over again, whenever Anakin starts drifting towards his path, Palpatine, Darth Sidious just stops that right in its tracks because he knows where that leads. It's like leading him back down the heart, the light path, which is oddly his attachments.
Right.
Yeah. It was seamless, and it was pitch perfect. And Ian McDiarmid, yes, so great.
Crushing.
Crushing. So I think we kind of skipped it. So we're now entered into the like finale rack of the episode, which kind of happens halfway through, where you start like putting a bow on all of these different storylines. And one of the first things that happens is we go to Alderaan.
Yes.
And
oh man,
adorable Leia putting on her boots and her gun holster, blaster holster. Sorry,
the scene was just unfair.
Yeah,
I wasn't ready for the scene.
No, it
was waterworks.
It wrecked me.
I basically had to like go get a glass of water. I had to
you had to rehydrate. You cried so much.
Yeah.
Dude, the dad energy on Obi-Wan is
I know.
Yeah, off the hook. It was the second time got me worse because I realized they were playing the Leia theme, and they mashed the Leia button. Natalie Holt did, and then Obi-Wan talks about her parents as much as he can, as eloquently, like more eloquently than any human has ever talked about anything in their life.
Yeah.
It was just waterworks, man. It was just like waterworks.
Yeah.
So
I'm playing it. I'm playing it right now. It literally just happened to be right the moment we're talking about. So Princess Leia, you're wise, discerning, kind-hearted. You get those qualities. These are the qualities that came from your mother. And at that point, I'm already losing it. And then he starts leaning off. But you're also passionate, and fearless. I would actually start crying right now. Forthright. And these are gifts from your father. And I'm like,
yeah.
Both were exceptional people.
Yeah.
Who bore an exceptional daughter. Yeah.
I didn't know I needed that scene.
It's perfect.
It was perfect. Did you guys catch that Leia so he brings back Lola with him to give to her. And did you see she put Lola in her holster, in her gun holster?
Oh no, I didn't catch that. That's amazing.
That final shot, I think.
Yeah,
it was pretty cute. But yeah, I mean the tenor of that scene just had me shook. I lost my mind.
And then they do the retcon thing, which, we've been talking about since episode 1 of why the whole freaking internet lost its ish about why doesn't she just say, hey, Obi-Wan, remember when we had this thing? I'm like, yes, because they have to be subtle about things. And that's literally like, they don't, and they just have one quick line. I'm like, good internet, solved. Are we okay now? Can we move on?
No, the greater population doesn't understand nuance or subtlety at all. That's why we're in this mess. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, they just went through and they checked a lot of boxes for continuity, and the second half of this episode just like bing, 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 bing.
But did it in such a wonderful way, because the way I wrote it on this episode was super clunky and expositional, as opposed to just saying like, we're going to need to be careful. Perfect. That's all you need to say. And then you can connect the dots or don't, because even if you said it directly how I said it should be said, those same people would just be like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
He does say it at the end.
No, but
Leia, we must be careful.
But that's perfect. But he doesn't go like,
I do not want you to be endangered. I was like, endangering the canon. Like,
I know, but it's like you have to do that. Just like the whole Darth thing is there for the canon, right? Like there's little things, and just that like, and then Luke, and then Obi, and then Vader just saying, I killed Anakin. Those are literally, those three things are all there to protect canon. They're great though. That's my point, is that
they work,
and they don't feel clunky, and that's awesome. Like it makes it feel like this whole connected thing. It makes it feel like in some ways when the prequel doesn't, that it was all planned.
We do now have Reva does know about Luke Skywalker, but she's completely redeemed. But now we just know in our overarching canon that Reva is also in on this secret. So that's something we know now. Really
through Carly.
Really?
And not in a way that
Obi-Wan was gonna say, I can't leave you alive now. And
no. Like she just,
you're too dangerous to be left alive.
It's similarly, I did not expect her. I didn't expect Reva to make it out alive either, for that reason, right? Like, and so it does, and not in a way that's just like this ruins it. But Carly was just like, I was not expecting this thing to end with just a random person out there knowing that Luke is Anakin's son and exactly where he lives.
Yeah,
and Anakin is Darth Vader, and like serious. Like I guess she doesn't know that Leia is his daughter, is Anakin's daughter.
No, right? Probably not. No,
because she got the garbled message, but like she actually knows the like linchpin to this.
Reva's like, where did you just come from? He's like, oh, I just got lost. I was on the way back. I didn't confront Vader and leave him alive. Don't worry about it.
It's all good.
I thought he was gonna say Anakin is dead.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Reva would be pretty mad at him for leaving Vader alive, but
that's again, no fat on the bone, like no fat on the meat. Like it was just like it. We know that Anakin is dead for all intents and purposes.
Yeah,
and so that closes,
until he's not.
That closes Reva's arc.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Reva has let that go, right? I don't think if that redemption is true, Reva shouldn't care one way or the other. Right, because she has moved past it. She's seen what vengeance has done to her, over these years, and then we get. They could not help. They tried so hard not to do it, and then they did. And it was perfect. But the hello there, like we get a hello there.
Yeah, talking about everyone, universally losing their ish.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just to do it in 2 words, like again, the like hello there.
Yep.
But like it took immense amount of fortitude to like to do it at all and not make it look super fan service.
I don't know. There was a lot of restraint on like EOP flatulation, so they were like, we can spare a hello there.
That's right. We've earned this. We have paid in negative EOP farts.
Yeah, no EOP farts. So.
Well, there's no EOP farts because like Obi-Wan like keeps a really strict and beautiful diet for.
I don't know. That's a heavy protein diet he's feeding that thing.
A lot of EOP grunts though, if you do watch with the captions, because
you try eating that much steak and seeing how you're doing the next day. Anyway, moving on.
I mean, it's salmon. Maybe it's salmon.
That's true. It is fish. Fish is very light.
Fish. It's omega-3.
It's a sea fish. Yeah, it's a desert fish.
Desert sea fish.
Yeah.
Yobi's like not credited. I feel like it's a star of this show.
There's someone else
a
that
lot
wasn't
of
credited also, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty much there.
I have a particular set of skills.
Well, so
one is
I mean,
not
we're
getting
just gonna dive
credited.
into it. At that moment, I was really like, "Are we gonna get out of this thing without a Qui-Gon?" Because, wow, like I was almost like, part of me was like,
Wait, this show was just like,
"Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
yeah."
Don't forget.
Every scene, I was like, "Is this the scene?"
Yeah, I know. Same
Is
here.
this the scene?
I
Is this
know,
the scene?
yeah.
And then
Literally,
they managed
yeah,
to
it was
like
the
button
Mephisto
hook me.
of-
Like
Wow.
I didn't see it coming when it finally happened. It was just like some random place. I thought he was
No,
gonna
it's kind of great. And I just Carly's just
About
like
time.
Carly was just like, well,
I've been here the whole time.
Carly's like, it makes sense that Liam Neeson showed up. This is basically just taken in space. This whole series.
Wait, what?
She's like the whole series has been basically taken in space. Because the whole thing is about his daughter being kidnapped
That's
and having
true.
to go rescue a daughter. I'm like, oh no.
Pretty accurate.
Oh no! Yeah, oh no! Yeah, he should be in it even if he isn't Qui-Gon Jinn, right?
Yeah, but it's, I mean, again, this is so restrained and perfect, and you get like cheeky Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon together for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yes.
like, and I just loved it. It was so great.
So
Yeah.
good.
Master Qui-Gon, I was beginning to think you'd never come.
Yes,
I was always here. You just weren't ready to see.
Yeah. and just the last line is, "Come on, we've got a ways to go."
We've got a
Yeah.
ways to go. And I was like, does that mean more seasons? Question mark?
Maybe.
Question mark? But they do have a ways to go, don't they?
Mhm.
Even with what we know. But yeah, then Liam Neeson not credited at all in the credits.
Perfect.
I mean, like, is that for like secrecy factor?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
I think it is. I think it was literally just trying to hold
The thing is, though, they laid the breadcrumbs since episode 1.
I know,
for
and they
that.
did a good job. Like, yes, there was nothing that came out that said 100% he's in this, right? There was no leaks in terms of like he's seen on set. But it's why keep that secret? That is not a secret. Like, to me, it was just like, when is it going to happen?
No, but it was done tastefully, I think.
Yeah.
Because, like, so again, Jenny was like, well, it makes sense because Liam Neeson all of a sudden hit the talk show circuit for like nothing, and was just like getting this like, I don't know, random curtain call like group of things. But the only one I listened to was the Smartless with Liam Neeson, which was lovely. And it was like at the very end, Sean Hayes is like, he's like, wait, we didn't even talk about Star Wars. And they're just like, shh. And then like, like push Sean Hayes off as they always do. And they didn't talk about it
Couldn't you
at
do a
all.
lot of Liam Neeson Force Ghosts with an Obi-Wan series? Because
Yeah.
Yes.
there's
So
a
here's the
lot
thing.
Qui-Gon has
Now
to
they're
pass on.
buddies again.
You could. Should you?
Yes.
I disagree.
Yes.
This is to be the
Okay,
optimal amount of Force ghosting.
I can see the pushback. I can understand it. I'm just
And I
thinking,
roundly disagree.
I mean, a couple of scenes in a season is fine. I feel like I'm trying to think, what's the longest Force ghost scene we get? I think it might be, is it episode 6?
Yeah. When we get both Yoda and Obi-Wan.
But I think in terms of like one single scene, I think when Obi-Wan's talking to Yoda might be one of the longest Force ghost scenes. Or when he's talking to Luke and Yoda, then Luke leaves, and then he's still hanging around talking to Yoda. And I have to say, that scene, I'm always like, after about 5 minutes, I'm like, there's just a ghost here. Like they're just talking to a ghost. Like it's just weird to me. After like I love it. Like my favorite scene in all of the sequel trilogies is still Yoda and Luke talking in Last Jedi. But like to me, that's optimal. Like just you impart wisdom quickly and then out.
Yeah, tree on fire and you're gone.
Yeah.
In I don't know though. I just watched Return of the Jedi, and I mean there's so like he has a long scene with Yoda, and then out of the woodwork comes Obi-Wan, Force Ghost, and like Obi-Wan's there so long he has to sit on a log.
Yes, he gets tired. The Force Ghost gets tired. Needs to have a
why doesn't Obi-Wan have an apprentice in those like a Padawan in those 10 years? Like teach someone else. to use the Force.
Oh, that's interesting.
Great
They totally
question.
could.
Why wouldn't he ever do that?
I mean, this is so thoroughly completely destroyed my headcanon in a wonderful way that I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you said that sentence to me 5 years ago, I would have yelled at you for like a half an hour.
I know.
And now I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it could be Reva,
Corn,
like a
corn.
rehabilitation apprenticeship with
Yeah.
Reva would be cool. I mean, she's already super strong though. Like, I mean, you could really, Corn Horn, I don't know.
right?
I just can't imagine that it wouldn't do some good to teach someone maybe who's a Force sensitive and, youth who's willing to learn, teach them how to be a Jedi, and then they can go fight the Empire, help the rebellion, what have you.
Right.
And why Obi-Wan wouldn't show someone the ropes, at least. And in so doing, maybe the Qui-Gon ghost sort of interacts with
Right.
Obi-Wan. I don't know.
Right. But like then you like almost get that scene where he's like raising his apprentice and then like he senses Luke Skywalker needs his help and he's like, get lost, kid. I got more important things to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless they just the timing.
It doesn't even have to be like a Padawan. It doesn't have to be like Luke's situation. It can be more of just like in passing teaches this person a few things.
Yeah. That would be really powerful and fun to watch. Because that's what he does, right? He makes everyone around him better. And yeah.
No, again, if it's this creative team doing it, do it.
Yeah.
Like they have earned all trust in this
Deborah
character.
Chow,
Like
Natalie Holt, I have full trust in both of them.
Is it Jodie? Is it Hauser? No.
I'm sorry, I don't know the writers.
I had it and then I can't.
Joby Harold.
Harold.
Yeah.
Andrew Stanton.
Yeah, Joby Harold. Yeah, Jodie Hauser's a comic book writer who's also very good. But yeah, it's just like I keep using the term threading the needle because it is just the perfect term. It's just like high risk, high reward writing. Like in a way that the Mandalorian, which is wonderful, just isn't, right? Like, because if that just doesn't work, it's like whatever, you just forget about it. And I think we just came off of a series that was dealing with a legacy character that did not necessarily go the way I loved it. Again, Boba Fett I like a lot. There's just some, it really was a couple of things of having to kind of frame this character.
Surprising. Let's just
it was
say
surprising. Yeah, that's the perfect thing. It's surprising
story arc for Boba Fett.
It's also a character that has very little screen time, so you really can do whatever you want because it's all built off of. But like this is a well-established character who like there's this 20 years not explored, but like so much headcanon out there about what happened, and to be able to do that, and I mean, again, second Kathleen Kennedy set out and said it'll be a rematch of the century or whatever she said, and that she said I spent the next 10 days trying to figure out, well, how could that line be a cheat? How do you cheat that line? Please, I do not want to see Obi-Wan and Vader fight. Right. I just don't want it. And now I'm like, I'm so glad they gave it to me. Like it's this worked perfectly.
My dumb brain was just like, you can't do that in a good way. And that's why professionals are paid to make movies like this. And I, just press record on my like boom mic and that's my job.
Yeah.
But they must have worked on this script forever.
Well, they had a whole other working script, right? That they threw out, Grant, didn't they? They had like, as I remember, they had like a whole other script that was like written by other people. It had Darth Maul in it. So like this is the second pass, like completely start from scratch again. Yeah. And to get this right, it's similar to me of like Force Awakens, where it's like the best thing that ever happened to Force Awakens was Harrison Ford getting his leg crushed, right? Because they had to shut down production. And they went back to the drawing board with a lot of it that helped them solve the Luke problem and some of the other issues that were going on behind the scenes. And same thing with this is like, I was just listening to a podcast about Back to the Future, and it's a similar idea of just like all of the things that went wrong on the production of Back to the Future is what makes that movie so right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In a weird way. And like some things those things happen. Like it's just they had the right amount of pressure or stress and just got the right team together and just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. Sometimes just stepping back, and really looking at things and getting new eyes on ideas. And I think that's the recipe. It's like, be patient, with these things. Don't force anything across the finish line anymore. Get a solid script, get a solid idea through like a whole narrative and get good people on it and go for it, you know. I don't know. This is a great step.
I could see Obi-Wan being pulled into helping some sort of other, you know, monarchy, like a government like Alderaan, like some other planet. I could see
that.
Like General Kenobi style, sort of like mediating again and helping other like governments sort of fight the Empire.
Yeah, maybe it's just helping a government break free of the Empire's control or whatever.
Yeah, and I think again this season did a good job of building an ensemble around him. Right, he has all these new connections that he didn't have at the beginning of this, and I think if any of these people called him, I don't think he would just be like, "No, I'm retired. I can't come help."
Could Obi-Wan not just be like Zorro after this and sort of like Robin Hood and sort of like just sort of be this swashbuckling sort of knight that knight errant that basically helps the people, you know, like could that be the series?
I love that.
Maybe he even wears like maybe he wears a hood and like kind of hides himself as he's running around doing this, sort of like almost like a superhero within the Star Wars sort of canon, like sort of like wears a disguise, you know, per se.
Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe a helmet, an awesome helmet,
like a cool helmet. Yeah.
I mean, it's wild.
It's not a character for him because in Clone Wars he does take on a few different disguises and sort of like
it's true.
Yeah.
So Vanity Fair 6 hours ago just published an article about season 2. Like, will it happen? And no line here, but a couple of quotes that are from reputable interviews. McGregor said, "I really hope we do another. If I could do one of these every now and again, I'd be just happy about it."
So do we, Ewan.
So like he's on board. Hayden Christensen, I don't really care about because he's just like, I would do one fine. Like, of course. And I would do it in another series too. Like, you know, but he's not integral. Like we could do a second season of Obi-Wan and not have Vader in it at all. We shouldn't have him in it.
It was powerful having Hayden in it, but it was like I felt like they really worked to get Hayden into this.
Yeah, and I think it's good that story is complete. Like I don't think he beats him again until episode 4 officially. But then they asked Deborah Chow, and Deborah Chow said, "I think, you know, if it was to go forward, it would only be if there was a real reason for another. For this one, we really did conceive it to be a limited series. It's really one big story with a beginning, middle, and end. So we weren't thinking past that. Fine, that's not a no, right? It's just like it wasn't in how we're conceiving it." Kathleen Kennedy said, "Well, frankly, we did set it out to do a limited series, but I think if there's a huge engagement and people really want more Obi-Wan, which we'll certainly
turn on the Obi-Wan."
Yeah. Give them consideration because the fans, they speak to us. And if we feel like, okay, there's a real reason to do this, it's answering the why then we'll do it, but we'll see." So,
oh gosh, I just I never engage with on like Star Wars Reddit anymore. But I do peruse it. And I caught one comment and I did reply to it this past week. And she was just like, well, it's up to, you know, someone was like, it's up to us to, you know, defend Last Jedi and defend Solo, because like if we don't do it, then like then the, you know, the toxic people win or something like that. And it was just like, and I was like, I don't think that Lucasfilm listens to that anymore.
No.
Like I think, you know, they made $1 billion on Last Jedi. They made $1 billion on The Rise of Skywalker. You know, Solo didn't work out, but I don't think it was because they were like, you know, and I think it was about cultural inclusiveness and diversity. And it's just like, I personally don't think social media really drives a lot of like storytelling and stuff.
Do you know what Lucasfilm cares less about than social media?
No.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time they care about it is when they should care about it, which is when they're trying to defend and protect the people they employ, right? To get ahead of that. But in terms of like that, do you know what they don't care? Because you know what a click does not equal? Money. They look at who's subscribing to Disney Plus. Right. We're watching, how many people are watching these shows? How many people are buying tickets? That's what drives them, because they are a corporation like everything else. If there's money to be made in these things, they'll be making the money. They do not care about what the trolls say. They just don't.
Does Vader have to
speak with your dollars, folks?
If Obi-Wan continues, does Vader even have to come back? It could just be Obi-Wan.
I don't think you see him.
Please don't. Either if you want Vader, give him his own show, right? Or give him his own limited series, or have him show up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or in the Path, like maybe he shows up in the Path series if that's because I could see him being involved with that. But no, this to me, and again, please prove me wrong because you've done so in the past and I'm open to it. But like to me, this is the end of the Obi-Wan Vader Anakin story until they cross sabers again, episode 4. Yeah. This is it.
I agree.
Yeah. It was just such a tidy bow on the end.
Yeah.
That like I mean anything it would feel like it was being shoehorned in.
Agreed.
Otherwise. Gosh, golly. Anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
No, I'm sad that we have to wait another month and a half until another 2 months until Andor.
Andor and then Bad Batch are coming this fall.
Yeah.
So we've got that. We've got 3 different comic book arcs, which I love.
Yeah.
I haven't read any of, so we're gonna and they all inform what we're doing here, like a lot of this time period. And which is great. We've got a novel that we haven't touched yet. Brotherhood, which is about Obi-Wan and Anakin. And that's fantastic. So we're going to get to that.
And there's another book coming out next week.
Oh my gosh. So we're in the weeds. We're in the Star Wars weeds.
Shadow of the Sith?
Is that? Yes, it's Shadow of the Sith, which I'm very excited about because that is a Luke and Lando 7 years after or more after Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
It's the Ochi of Bastoon story.
Bastoon. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe more than 7 years, but it's a ways after. Maybe 15 years. It's really it's in a period that we haven't even gone close to exploring in any medium.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that. I haven't talked to you guys off air about this, but I'm wondering if we should maybe pick back up with doing episode by episode or issue by issue comics again. It was like I think I randomly stumbled across a quote by Kieran Gillen. It's like, I wish there was a podcast that covered every episode as it comes out, like every Star Wars issue as it comes out, which is like in direct conflict with the other author.
The other quote. Yeah, I have to say,
like,
as a weekly comic book reader, I was, when you had presented that idea originally of like, let's do arcs, I was hesitant to do it, but I'm also like, yeah, all right, let's try it. I got no ideas. Yeah. We can talk more off air. I really like that we're doing the arcs. I think I think we stick with it because I think we have more to say. We lose some of the individual nuance, but I'm tracking the stories better, and I feel like I'm able to talk about it better and see the character arcs and the other arcs. Yeah. So I know what you're saying. I also think because there's so many more comics coming out now, it also starts eating up a lot of which
I always imagine like we'll do 15 minutes on the comics and then it's like 45 minutes on the comic.
But hey, listeners, let us know what you think, right? Yeah. Like if you have a strong feeling one way or the other, do you want us to cover the comics one by one, arc by arc? If you have a strong feeling, let us know. I mean, we don't promise to do whatever you say, but if we hear a prevailing opinion one way or the other, we're open.
Yeah, clearly we're like the wind. We just change directions willy-nilly. But yeah, I do love it. I do like this method because I just wait until like the day we do the episode, and then I read I block out 2 beautiful hours. Mm-hmm. I have my reading chair. I sit in my reading chair and watch the sun go down and drink scotch and read all the comics, and it's joyful.
I agree. I think selfishly that might be why too, because I do still read it when it comes out, but I kind of like read it fast. And then the day we're recording, similarly, I'll sit down and really slow read the 5 or 6 episode issues, and I just love it. I'm just like, oh, this is I mean, here's the thing. This method has made me really, really appreciate the bounty hunter.
More. Yeah.
And no, but bounty hunters, like
Bounty Hunters is a good comic.
It's a good comic.
I kind of want to go back and reread the entire series and then have like a mea culpa on this show.
I know. I mean, we knew they never
real hard.
Like,
I mean, I still don't like Valance, but I like the writing within.
You'll never
make
me like Valance.
No, but that's okay.
Star Wars main run is incredible.
It's so good.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a new Afra, greatest
Afra
character
is spectacular.
And there's the new Han and Chewbacca series that's ongoing right now. I'm really enjoying. And there's the Obi-Wan mini series going on. There's a lot going on.
Yeah,
there's just so much Star Wars content.
There really is.
I
So
keep telling
great.
people, I'm just like, listen, like we started a Star Wars podcast and then we haven't stopped. It's just been busy. It's just been constant.
there's no end.
244.
There's no end.
What are other people doing? Like, it's just like, it's almost like sports at this point.
It really is. It is. I chose football as my sport because there's only like 17 games a year I'd have to watch, and I love baseball, but it's too much. And I'm like, well, Star Wars is great because there's like 6 movies and like a couple series and you know, there's some books and everything. And now I'm like, nope, every week, and I love it. This is great. This is prime me.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about this podcast is that it's synergistic and that we just wrap our arms around all the media and we talk about how it coincides. And so if you don't have enough time to do that, we are more than happy to fall on that laser sword.
Yes. Although this episode lasted much longer than the episode of Obi Wan that you could have watched, most of the time we save you time.
Yeah.
People listen to you. Don't stop.
Yes, thank you, Obi-Wan.
That writing of
I'm
Obi-Wan
just getting
too.
started. Is the proper response to that?
Yeah.
That did feel prophetic, didn't it?
Right?
Like he's like, no, you're gonna see more Roken. Don't worry about
see
it.
me later on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I always think actually all of this stuff I can't get Jedi Survivor out of my head. I feel like there's going to be a connection there.
There might be.
Yeah, like because why? Who had the foresight to name Leia and Han's son Ben? Like, who did that? Because like if we didn't have this Obi-Wan series, it really wouldn't make a ton of sense.
I think you're giving more credit than credit's due. I think you're doing what I think you're doing the retconning thing. I think that was clear. That was a simple, the fans are going to go nuts moment, right? Like, because I remember when that happened in the theater and he says Ben, I was just like, it was like that moment of like, oh my God, they named him Ben. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, wait, why did they name him Ben? You know? So I don't think they were thinking about it.
I think they couldn't name him Anakin because that would be confusing.
And it'd be weird too.
Yeah.
Because like also Anakin tortured her. So it's like, why would I name you after the father that literally tortured me and your father? Tortured both of us.
Yeah.
Like
Bail
legit.
would have actually made some sense.
Bail would have been good, but I don't think casual fans
know who
know Bail. So Ben is the name, right? Which is like, again, I'm not saying that in any like cynical
Bail
way.
Solo.
Yeah, Bail Solo. That's really funny. That sounds like
Solo's actually pretty cool.
I don't know. That sounds like a pretty weak-willed character. Like I'm alone and I run away quick. I bail on people, but like
he bails.
I just feel like it was very much a committee kind of like
Solo.
What is going to get a reaction out of fans? And I don't hate that because Star Wars does that a lot. And then I think you know, Joby Harold and people writing the series just went like probably are doing what we're doing now. Like, wait, why? Like, can we now tell a story that makes it make more sense? And it does. Like, it's amazing watching the series. Like, I just love that my headcanon now has the fact that like Obi-Wan spent all this time with Leia as a kid, right? And has this amazing connection to her. Gives me chills.
Perfect now. But it's just like oh my gosh, I would pay so much money to just like have a scotch with like the showrunners or just like again with Kathleen Kennedy, like just be like how did that go down? Pablo,
like when did connect? Can you connect the dots for us?
Yeah. How did this like? There's no way. Yeah. Like unless they're like, you know what, we are going to tell that story eventually. It may be in a book or something else, but like
maybe, yeah.
I do think you also have grounds to do another Leia story. You know, like
yes,
when she's a teenager, she's sort of early rebellion. Leia still has that holster, all that sort of stuff. But because that would be fun. Like
they're running out of time. What's that?
Return of Flea.
Return of Flea.
Yeah.
Well,
Flea strikes back.
I don't think he can return. He's pretty
Flea
dead.
Slaps back. Flea slaps back.
If you do a teenage story, it's not going to be. I don't think you can do Millie Bobby Brown at this point because like she's aged out. I think she's the age that Carrie Fisher was at this. Right. She's got to be 20, right?
Yeah, she's like A New Hope Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, so like, but there's plenty of other actors out there that can take on that role. But they made her such a wonderful character in this series. I mean, she is who she is, but like I do want to see teenage Leia adventures now for sure.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Okay, we did it, y'all. Thanks very much for listening to us this week.
Quinlan Voss.
I'm so glad you listened to us through this whole series. It was amazing. I hope you liked it as much as we did. And like we said, we've got a lot of more Star Wars to talk about and can't wait to do it. So stick around. Check in on Star Wars. We're not going to talk about anything heavy, man. We're just going to be talking about Star Wars doing its thing and being like a fun, hopeful place to be in your mind for a little bit. So come chill with us. We dig it. And as always, may the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you always.